they really took it to them and gave him a beating.
Yeah, well, it's true. And M3 have been looking fantastic, as you mentioned, one of the most informed LPL teams that we have so far. And wow, Gamtee really coming out on top. Of course, they drew yesterday with OMG. Gamtee can play with the big boys.
Yeah, I have a bold prediction here. So Gamtee have drawn, won, drawn, lost, drawn.
Oh.
So I'm going to predict a draw right here.
Whoa, no, you can't break it. It's got to be a win, right?
Maybe.
Because they've got sort of the heart monitor graph.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing. So we'll see whether it's actually going to come through. Of course, with the sort of like 3-point split, it's actually what it kind of looks like with the little blips. But let's not go too far into it. The bans, very similar coming through, of course. Going to be banning out that Annie, Callista, and the Viger and Cassidon as well, and nothing really to change. We'll see whether M3 are going to take away the Gnar here as well, because Gamtee, they're probably looking to do that one again, not wanting to switch things up too much. Lee Sin actually going to be taken away from Huey, and is that going to mean it pigeonholes Gamtee into a Rek'Sai ban?
Potentially, it means that Huey has that available, and Condi might be able to jump onto the J4. I think that this looks like they're setting up for another first pick for Looper. Wouldn't be surprised if that came through, because he looked all kinds of not great on the Lissandra last game.
Yeah, and has looked all kinds of great looking on the other side on the Gnar as well.
Yeah, exactly right. So get him back on something that he's played to good effect in team fights. He laned very well on Lissandra, dealt with a lot of early game pressure, but then just had some horrible early engages. And Gamtee obviously recognizing that as well. They take the Gnar away.
Yep, gonna stop Looper from picking that one up. Huey gonna have his second time on this Jarvan as well. And we'll see whether he picks up that Aurelia once more. With Rek'Sai on the board here, does that mean that Dade has the opportunity to go for this Lulu? This Lulu Rek'Sai seems to be something that our LPL teams have been putting a lot of priority on.
Yeah, it certainly is a good combo. The double knock-up is very good. I like it. I also like the fact that Lulu adds a lot to your AD carry. Playing with someone like Candy, who wants to be that damage threat, does give them the option to do so. However, I would be very surprised if it was Dade that picked up that champion. So coming through, he does have other options available. The Azir is still up, of course. Xerath is still available. We saw Dade play a very good Xerath game yesterday. In the top lane, we have the likes of Maokai still available if they're going for more of a tanky lineup. I would like to see a very tanky lineup coming out of M3 here, something that they can run into Gamtee, because we saw that Gamtee, if they do anything well, it's team fight as a unit very impressively.
Yeah, it is the hover of the wife steal bottom lane here yet again. We haven't seen Lucian's being all that successful, but I mean, in the hands of players like Imp, he looked very, very strong on that champion, and we've sort of had speculation coming through that the Lucian does quite well against Corki.
Yeah, it doesn't do badly. He can dash away from the phosphorus bomb. More importantly, he can go forward through it and get a lot of damage down with that double tap coming through. And he weaves his spells very nicely. So he's kind of the poor man's Graves. That's the way I like to look at Lucian at the moment. Doesn't have that nice steroid on his E, just a repositioning tool. However, he does, in the laning phase at least, do very well.
Yeah, and he has also that little bit of extended range. Does that help with the piercing light?
Not really.
No.
Buckshot's a better move than piercing light.
Yeah, okay.
It really is down to that passive. That is what separates them. I guess he has it on his passive, all the extra attacks he gets out, whereas Graves has it on his E. And I think that the True Grit just does come up a little bit better. However, Candy has taken Lucian.
Yeah, Candy's going to be picking that one up instead. Of course, had the option of that Graves. Decided against it. Dade looking at a potential Zed pickup, and we sort of criticized his last outing with the Zed. Maybe picking that one up again, but it's just a hover at this stage. We can't really guarantee anything, and the Azir is still available, and despite losing that game, his Azir still looked fantastic.
Yeah, his Azir looked pretty good. It just looked like there was not enough follow-up coming through there. So he's going back to that one. Looper's locked in the Hecarim, and he's swapped his summoner spells over to the Ignite Teleport.
The standard LPL.
Really frustrates me because he gets so much AD out of Ghost. If you want to go an aggressive summoner spell, Ghost just makes a lot of sense. But in saying that, they know something I don't. That's why I'm sitting here and they're playing the game. But we see actually a very tanky lineup coming out this time. The Thresh gets very tanky through the Souls, of course. The Hecarim in the top lane. He goes Trinity Force and pretty much pure tank after that. We've even seen some Hecarims just sit on the Phage. And Rek'Sai, one of the better tanky bruiser junglers at the moment, excelling in skirmishes. So a lot better lineup, I think, coming out of M3 this time. But the problem is, across the Rift, Zhao, who's just grabbed Xerath, and we saw that he doesn't really mind playing against the Azir matchup at all.
He doesn't mind playing against anything. He's so comfortable on this champion, and Let Me going to be a mega tank there on the top side of the map. They've got a lot of disengage coming through from Sync Dream, but that could be something that could be a little bit of an issue here, because this is the first time we've seen Sync Dream on a champion that isn't sort of a, I'm going to gank the mid lane at level 2.
Yeah, he certainly is going for more of a different feel with that Janna pickup. I think that it's because the Lupa diving in on the back line, especially around that Xerath, will cause them a lot of problems. It's very hard to stop that ultimate. Some would even say impossible because of the mechanic. So he's looking to get him back out of the team fight.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And as far as this top lane is concerned, Maokai taking on the horse. How does that work out? Is that just going to be a slugfest?
Maokai actually does very well because Hecarim spams his Q and Maokai keeps himself relatively healthy through his passive, so it's not a horrible matchup.
Okay. Maokai, of course, has the highest base AD as well, you taught me earlier on. So that's exciting. Is he going to be running a lot of AD and attack speed there in the top lane there, Spawn?
I don't think he plays Maokai the same way I do, Atlas, but thank you for bringing that up on an international stream. As we could focus on the lineups here, so I think that, so the Maokai versus Hecarim matchup, that one is definitely a little bit more volatile. The Ignite swings it in Hecarim's favor, but he does do relatively well. All eyes must point towards the mid lane. We saw Xerath go absolutely off in the same combo. They're probably going to look to do it again.
Yeah, and we'll see if they do as we hop onto the Rift. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with Game 2 between M3 and Gamtee. I just got a lot of head shaking from Spawn just then, but we are going to get into more serious mode as these teams are going to face off on the Rift. And do you think that there's going to be any more of this lane swap shenanigans, or do you think Candy and Love City more than happy to 2v2?
No, this time around I think they are looking for the 2v2. Tail and Sync Dream, they've got a very, I guess, a neutralizing lane, I'm going to call it, in the fact that they've got Janna as well as Corki. Lots of poke damage can come through, and they trade in burst very well because of that Eye of the Storm Shield. Lucian, of course, trades very well in lane in his own respect, so...
Ooh, Zhao actually coming around here, trying to get some poke damage onto Condi. Lands the spell. Beautiful stuff. Got his eye in most definitely on this Xerath now. Had a fantastic performance in the later stages of the game on that champion.
Some deep wards coming through here on M3's bottom side of the on Gamtee's bottom side of the jungle by M3. So they've got pure vision of where they're going to start. Both top laners also looking to start a camp and get an early level 2 here. And going to trust their junglers to maybe solo out their first buff.
Yeah, and Candy and Love City, they're going to know exactly whether or not Gamtee are going to go for that Gromp first up here as well. They're going to take away the Krugs, and we may have yet another experience here on the bottom side of the map where M3 really go for that level 2 cheese.
Yeah, so you can see that they've got the ward on the Gromp to try and spot out if their lane opponent goes for that one as well. Looks like they're starting up the blue buff. They just take away the little one for a little bit of extra experience, trying to get the level 2 a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a cute play. We've seen this come through a couple of times here.
We've also seen Hecarims nearly die to Wolf's camps. They do a lot of damage to the Hecarim, and the Tony doesn't seem to deal with it very well, although Lupa, he's got this one under control.
Yeah, it's the Raptor camp that you really have to watch out for. That one is definitely going to kill you. Huey also struggling here with these Gromps on the top side. The jungle is a dangerous place, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to be able to stab that little one here as well, but everything's going to be fine here in the bottom side of the map. Candy has hit level 2. And Lupa just going to take a smash to the face here as well, but happily level 2 on the horse and able to farm. I don't think too much action is going to be happening up here as a spawn.
No, definitely don't think that will be the case. And we see in the bottom lane, early level 2s coming through for the AD carries, but on the other side of the Rift, wasn't able to pick it up for Love CD yet, so they've got a small level advantages. Wow, Dade putting down some pain early on, but this is how we kind of saw the last game go, and unfortunately Huey was able to beat Condi to the mid lane for that first gank.
Yeah, and the Arcano Pulses are evening things out here just a little bit. Dade going through his mana, but like you say, of course, Azir just able to poke with those Sand Soldiers so beautifully. Condi happily taking his red buff away. He's got a bit of an empty jungle here as well, as Rek'Sai just pretty good at the old farming. Love City just going to use that Relic Shield to take away the cannon creep. Tail missed by the piercing light. Nicely played. And as far as, you know, where these teams are trying to aim their aggression, when they're going to be sort of at their peak, where's M3 trying to really put pressure on the map with this particular comp?
I think they're looking for the first item spikes that come out of the Hecarim, as well as potentially the Lucian as well. They skirmish very well in small situations. The 3-on-3s, the 2-on-2s, they have a very good skirmish team. Rek'Sai adds that to lots of teams because of the way the tunnel networks work. You can generally beat the junglers around to these little skirmishes if you're on the other side of the map. They scale not bad into the super late game. Hecarim's very good in the super late game. Azir's very good, although short ranged, and we saw that that can punish him. However, I think that Gamtee is stronger against most areas of the game. It's going to be really up to, can M3 get themselves into a better position than they did last time around?
Yeah, let me actually taking a lot of poke here from Looper in the top side. Both of these top laners have used that teleport to get back. As let me looking to back, but decides to cancel it.
And we see in the bottom lane a little bit of jungle pressure now coming in from Condi. He wants to get over the wall, maybe looking for that flash engage. See whether he goes for it.
Yeah, he's actually coming through with that tunnel there as well. Preyseeker finds Sync Dream, but that is all she wrote there. Dade in the meantime, though, he's going to fall down to Xiaohu. No, Huey going to lock down that kill. Xerath going to be pretty annoyed about that, but still beautiful and successful early gank from Huey.
Talking about annoyed, Dade is going to be annoyed about that. That's twice in a row his jungler has visited another lane, shown and left Dade, who was pushing up very aggressively, trying to deny Xiaohu, to 2v1. Condi really needed to get to mid lane earlier this time around, and in the bottom lane we have a little bit more action going on.
A little bit more of a scuffle, as Love City probably got a little bit of a hook there. But not really going to find too much. Candy actually running through his mana pretty quickly. As Descent's going to land on a tail, it's a nice shield to keep him a little bit more safe, but look at the burst damage to come down as the ignites there. Not going to quite be enough, but I think this Corki going to have to leave the lane.
Yeah, heal was available there for Corki, so that's why they didn't flash or try and go super aggressive on there. Never want to tank up minions early, but that does put the lane in favor of Lucian, who started to build a little bit of a CS lead and will look to push up now that Corki has left the lane.
Yeah, and of course, Love City and Candy now able to utilize their fantastic synergy in this 2v2 situation. And again, coming out ahead. Of course, not being able to pick up sort of the early first blood situation that they managed to get with their Callista Thresh combo, but still working out, still creating the advantages that they want. And you can see, I mean, 14 CS in the lead at 6 minutes. That's huge.
Yeah, that's a very big deal. Really only the mid lane where it is going against Dade now after that first gank did come through. Top lane, Looper is performing very well. Jungle completely even. It's just the fact that this mid lane was visited by a successful gank, and Dade was once again kept a little bit down.
The Gamtee have capitalized on this one as well. You can see in the gold they are ahead by just a little bit. It's actually extended a little bit further on than just that sort of first blood gold lead.
Yeah, it certainly has. Coming through there, 600 gold, about the difference.
Yeah, Looper and Let Me still going toe-to-toe. Let Me struggling a little bit against the horse. And you mentioned that, you know, Maokai going to be doing great. Is it about that level 6 mark?
Yeah, it's not that he does great in the lane, it's just that he doesn't outright lose it. He doesn't get run over the top. Hecarim's very good against melee laners because of the fact that he can harass with a Q and doesn't really get caught up, as we have once again the defensive Valkyrie coming out of tail. So Maokai, as long as he's getting farm, he should be able to CS completely fine in the lane, as long as he's able to get to the position where he's going to be that very, very tanky top laner. He'll be able to do his job in the lane. So just the point that it doesn't get run over the top with not very much kill potential coming through from the Hecarim, and Maokai just able to farm up.
Oh, Descent's going to go wide here as well by Love City. His tail doing his best to survive this lane, and as a Corki, just surviving a lane is not necessarily something that you normally talk about.
No, it certainly isn't. You would look for him to be a little bit more aggressive at this point. However, in saying that, Lucian's a fantastic laner in his own right. That's where his popularity really came from, with his low cooldowns, ability to be able to weave those spells in there and harass over the creep wave with that Q, as we see a very good example. Thank you, Mr. Candy.
Yeah, it was beautifully done.
And even the ultimate burnt there to try and get some more harass down. They're looking to be super aggressive in here.
Yeah, or at least trying to shove out. His tail's going to get caught by a Descent. Dade, in the meantime, just going to throw a Sand Soldier. Candy took a butt ton of damage there in the bottom side. he is going to survive.
Yeah, took the phosphorus bomb and big one straight to the kisser. So that is what got him down very low. And now that the level 6 has been reached with that Sheen, they will be able to fight in small skirmishes extremely well.
Yeah, and you can see Love City and Candy still with complete control over this lane. Love City is more than happy to go toe-to-toe with these auto attacks against Janna. And Tail just playing back, 10 CS behind, something like that. Has gone for the Sheen first. And that might be why he's been so punished.
Yeah, but he's looking to poke in the short windows. So he's looking for the Janna shield to go on for him to be able to get the big one. As Dade's ganked again.
Yeah, and he's just going to get exploded. There's not really too much to say about that. Shocking Orb went wide, but when Xiaohu has multiple damage abilities, he's going to be able to lock that one through. And Huey having a great game on this Jarvan.
Yeah, he certainly is, being able to get in there, and he's really set up the camp as the hook lands again.
Yeah, there's the Ignite. It is going to come down here as well as Tail in a lot of trouble. There are so many members of M3 going after this Corki, as he does use his flash to get a little bit of guaranteed damage onto Rek'Sai, and Looper taking some turret hits as well. But there's Rite of the Arcane. He's looking for something as Xiaohu doesn't find Condi, as that was where his aim was, and he's going to be M3 coming out ahead.
Yeah, and did Rek'Sai ultimate
Oh my
that?
goodness. Shocking Orb doesn't find Condi, but nowhere to run. And that's double buffs here for Xiaohu.
Yeah, so Xiaohu now really rolling in this mid lane. He's got a CS advantage. He's 2-0-1. Has 1,000 gold in his pocket as well. Huey's going to be the beneficiary of this one as well, because he might even be able to... No, they give the blue buff over to Xiaohu off screen, so he's just refreshed that one. And Dade now, with all of the auto attack harass that's going to come through from Xerath, make the ability to hit these spells even easier with the slow. He needs to be careful. If he gets another repeat gank, he can be completely shut out of this map.
Yeah. Gamtee, of course, struggling a little bit on that bottom side of the map, but we know that Tail is fantastic at using this Corki in a teamfight situation. And with Xiao, who's so strong yet again, he had an immortal performance on that Xerath in the last game, and I'm quite surprised that he managed to get it again.
Yeah, he certainly did have a good performance coming through there. As we see a little bit of harass coming down in the bottom lane, that's a big CS advantage coming through, and the culling doing a lot of work actually out of Candy, taking out half the health of Tail.
And I like this as well because, of course, Syncdream not going to have too many heals outside of that Monsoon. So poking down the Corki, he's not going to be able to get that health back very quickly.
Yeah, exactly right. Shove him down as much as possible. He's also gone quick Berserker Greaves to be able to get in and out of range at will. Be able to set up as many kill participations as he can, because he is the one you feel needs to get rolling on a very mid-game focus Lucian to be able to bully out this lane and get his team ahead. And it's not working so far. Mid lane going very much in the favor of Gamtee, but bottom lane slowly starting to build up.
Yeah, and Jahu, of course, when you do have a lead on this Xerath, it means that you get sort of your Morellonomicon, your items a little bit earlier, and he's just going to be able to clear out these waves so quickly.
Yeah, and we see that that is exactly the case. He's just continuing to push into Dado, who hasn't been able to return the purchase of the Morellonomicon and is continually under fire now from these max range Qs. However, it has meant all this bottom side control has led to a dragon for M3, so they're able to pick up the first major objective of the game.
Yep, and Candy just going to get pulled back over the wall by that dark passage as well. Syncdream going to find out that, yes, there's no dragon.
So a big lull in this game, actually. Not much action happening. The Cataclysm is back up as well as the Xerath ultimate, but Azir's got out of lane. He's gone back and picked up that Morellonomicon. 13 CS is the advantage. Looper in the top lane. He's starting to get some work done. 20 CS in the lead. That Righteous Glory is finished up by Maokai, so not electing for any aggression in the build, just going the pure tank Maokai route. A lot of sustain coming through, but we'll struggle in a split push situation as this game goes on now.
Yeah, it does hit that level 10 a little bit before Looper, but you can see he's being very aggressive with those rampages towards that top side, trying to hold on to this 20 CS advantage.
So we see the gank coming in, completely no vision of this. Condi is in range to maybe be able to get down there nice and quickly if they do go for it. That's got to give it away. You do not recall that close to a minion wave.
No. Oh, the dodge on the Ardent Blaze. There's Love City just getting knocked up by that one. Flashes out of the way, but of course that means that Cataclysm is so easy for Huey, and he nets himself another kill.
Yeah, very nicely done. Just dodging out of the Ardent Blaze there meant that he wasn't spotted, and that was pretty silly.
Smooth. So just one step.
Yeah,
got it.
they kind of knew something was up and then didn't respect the fact that they didn't have eyes on the jungler. And with how much vision they have over the bottom side of the river, there's not many places he could have been apart from potentially top, but then why would Tail play like that?
Yeah, it's a little bit silly, of course, especially when he's had such a rough time in this lane just generally. Rockets now being used to poke out Candy pretty effectively as Looper's diving onto Let Me here, but the turret doing a whole lot of work. Of course, this Maokai very tanky with the Righteous Glory actually used that.
Both coming up.
Yeah, there's the flash of the Twisted Advance. Huey picks up another kill. Condi, you have to think he's going to fall down as well as the Ignite, not enough. And just a bit of a lane tax for Xiaohu as he demonstrates the fact that he was ready to help.
Yeah, I think he actually picked a kill up off that. He's 3-0 on 1 now.
Right,
I think he got the second one with the first one that came out and then just threw the other two out for a little bit of extra farm and help push the wave out. So very nice play coming through from the mid lane again. He's been able to impact the side waves twice now. And whilst Looper was trying to get aggressive to take the turret, poor decision because now he loses his turret in return.
Yeah, and yet again, we're seeing these red side Jarvans picking up 3-0-3 very early on. 100% kill participation now for Huey when he picks up the Demacian Prince. And Jarvan just looking like a pretty strong early game hero at this stage.
Yeah, certainly is, and that's meant a 2,000 gold advantage for the Jarvan. He's a Sightstone and a Giant's Belt ahead at this point, just adding so much extra, I guess, utility to his team through all of that vision. So he's having a fantastic start of this game, and we saw how well Gamtee did last game with without the lead. This time they've got a huge lead coming through in 2 of their 3 lanes. Probably going to be able to push it even further.
Yeah, and they're not too worried about Let Me falling behind as well. He's got one job. It's be annoying in the front line. And he's going to be able to do that as this Maokai, regardless.
Yeah, it certainly looks to be the case. And we see a little bit of pressure now from Condi. He's trying to zone Let Me off this turret. He wants Looper to be able to pick this one up. And finally, Looper, he just decides that he values minions' lives more than his own. So he's happy to tank that one up for them. So we see continual poke coming through now from this lane.
Yeah, actually, Tail just more than happy to throw out all of his mana's worth, but there's Rite of the Arcane being put down here as well as Dade comes into this bottom side. Huey locked up underneath that turret. He is not going to be the first one to fall. As the heal comes through, Huey is going to die eventually as Dade picks up that kill, gets the shutdown on this Jarvan. That's exactly what Dade needed, but of course, Love City also fell down. Yeah,
so they had to use a lot to secure that kill, but that was what Dade needed to really get rolling. He was falling further and further behind. Unfortunately, Xiaohu also picked up the return kill coming through, so that's an even better position. Surprised the teleport didn't come through from Looper. I thought there was a good ward positioning in that river, and he had taken down the turret, but in the end, deciding not to, everyone just backs away 1 for 1.
Yep, no one actually going to be teleporting towards that bottom side. Xiaohu going to find Condi. Shocking Orb not going to find its mark here as well as Condi just a bit of disrespect to this Xerath, but understandably so after that.
Yeah, and we see Candy returning to lane. He's picked up that Infinity Edge. Infinity Edge, one of the best 1-hour item power spikes for the Lucian, just because of the fact that you get 2 auto attacks in between your in between your abilities. So it does, I guess, increase the pseudo attack speed without any other items. And of course, attack speed just scales so well with crit chance. So it's not a bad first item pickup, although compared to a Trinity Force as well as a Vamp Scepter, Corki definitely not as far behind in this lane as they would have hoped.
Yeah, I like the Vamp Scepter pickup here as well. Yeah, he's going to get poked out here by Candy over and over again. Likes to use the culling on it. Oh, the teleport actually immediately cancelled here from Looper. Interesting communication. Let Me is down on this bottom side, of course, preparing for this dragon that's going to be up in 25 seconds. Got in there very early. And Hecarim now moving towards this bottom side as well. And
yeah, so Looper cancelled it because he would have been on the complete wrong side of the team fight, and he's not tanky whatsoever. He's only got that Trinity Force, so he's a damage threat this time around, but he isn't that tank threat that they need him to be. So he had to cancel that one, otherwise he would have been in no man's land. And needs to be careful now because Huey's moving up.
Yeah, Love City looking for Tail here on this bottom side. Of course, it's a 2v1 situation down here. M3 still putting the pressure down. But Corki going to have a fair bit of wave clear. There's no point in M3 really pushing this one any further up. 4 members of Gamtee looking around this Dragon Pit. Hasn't been started. There's the Cataclysm onto Love City. Going to use that flash yet again in order to get out. Rite of the Arcane coming through. Lands all the bolts. The stab not going to be enough. Huey not going to find the kill, but that is the support completely chunked out.
Yeah, completely chunked out. They used the culling to, I guess, tickle Huey's
backside.
Yep, as on the exit for that fight. Now they're trying to close in on Looper.
Yeah, Condi actually looking for something. Doesn't find the unburrowed. Death Sentence isn't there as well, and Looper now finds himself in an odd position as Tail and then uses the ultimate defensively. That is a huge deal.
Yeah, and as I said in Champions League, just cannot be stopped whilst he's doing that. So able to reposition himself around, even though he was CC'd, and that was a very good use of the ultimate, but it wasn't aggressive. And now M3, they're going to have to give up this objective most likely because there's just not much left in their arsenal to be able to use.
Yeah, Gamtee having some help here from Dade as well. That's a bit cute. Using his Sand Soldiers. They've pulled this dragon all the way out, and you have to think that this is going to be a free first dragon. Oh, unless Condi can steal it. He doesn't manage to. Gets locked down here as well. Can't get to the Dark Passage, and Xiaohu, another kill.
Yeah, 5-0-1 for Xerath at this point of the game. He's 1,500 gold up and doing amazing work here. He's got the death cap. You can see why he was doing so much damage in there. Dade, he's no Slash, but you can't defend a turret 1v3, so that one will fall 2 objectives to none. 3,000 gold the lead at 20 minutes for Gamtee.
Yeah, and we were talking about sort of this switch up of junglers that's gone on between both of these teams. Condi and Huey have been stepping it up over these last series, but you have to say Huey has looked massive on this Jarvan. 100% kill participation really helped get Xiaohu ahead early on, and that has been massive for them. This Jarvan has really been doing work.
But the team play is just amazing. Look, there's 4 members in this bottom lane. Love CD is now going to see the bad news and think, what did I just get myself into?
Yeah, he is having some very difficult times towards this bottom side of the map, and that Thresh was so dead.
Yeah, and that was a very interesting decision to come through, but it will be another death. Dade, in the meanwhile, will try and push out this mid lane and get as much damage down to the turret as possible. Potentially even looking for a dive because their team is grouped up around there. So Looper just choosing to steal away a red buff for himself. And overall, this game has just got out of control for Gamtee, and they haven't been able to do much.
Yeah, Syncdream actually forced to use that flash very early on. There's the devastating charge onto him, but just takes away that shield. You can see that red buff doing some work. Huey actually Cataclysm onto Looper here, who doesn't have flash. Going to use that Onslaught of Shadows. Finds Xiaohu with it. A shocking orb. Not going to be opted for just yet. Charges up the Arcano Pulse. Looper just running through this one as well as he can. As there's the Emperor's Divide to get Huey out of Dade's face and over the wall with him, and he's going to be okay.
Yeah, so that was a very well-played team fight because they were at a disadvantage, and not losing a member meant that they picked up the objective in the bottom lane. But you just see how scared they are of this Xerath at this point in the game. Even Huey has picked up a Warmog's armor. He's an absolute monster in the health department, so he's going to be pretty tanky to deal with, and it doesn't look like currently there is an answer out of M3.
Yeah, I mean, are you going to build Blade of the Ruined King on Candy to deal with it? I don't even know. Is Huey actually going to just launch himself onto a couple of members here? The tower falls down as well. Death Sentence not going to find him after the flash. There's the Flag and Dragon to get Huey a little bit further forward. That was very aggressive play. Looper and Let Me now battling one another. Sapling just, I think Let Me wanted a friend. Xiaohu, though, you can see just so much wave clear. There's actually the Rite of the Arcane to come down.
Nearly kills Dade. Dade, both summoners available, probably wasn't going to die. We've seen that he is probably the most consistent player at dodging out of that ultimate coming through, but other members haven't been so lucky.
Yes. Candy, though, going to be able to take away this red buff very quickly. And building up towards that static shiv where it's going to have a lot of burst damage on top of the fact that that crit going to augment the Infinity Edge even further. And Randuin's Omen now going to be the option left to Let Me, and sort of ignoring the magic resist for now. Is that something that he should be doing?
Yeah, he definitely has the ability to be able to do it. He's got a lot of health coming through, so doesn't really mean it will hurt him too much. It helps him deal with Looper and all the physical damage coming out there. And of course, his job is to dive into the Lucian's face. Lucian, very short-ranged AD carry, can't really peel for himself against something like a Maokai. So he's going a very cost-effective build. He has fallen very far behind Looper. Looper's probably the shining light for his team at the moment.
Yeah.
At about 60 CS in the advantage and 1,000 gold. So he's looking to get tanky sooner rather than later. But with how big the backline is on Gamtee, Xiaohu, as well as Tail, who has quietly built up a 2-item build with this Bloodthirster going to be coming out relatively soon, they will probably be able to still deal with Luke because he isn't that tanky. He's committed a lot of his resources to that Trinity Force.
Yeah, almost has that Warden's Mail completed. You have to think that going to be going for a Frozen Heart relatively soon. Or is it going to be the Randuin's here? Because, of course, not a lot of attack speed relied upon here by Gamtee.
Yeah, but Frozen Heart's just so good on Hecarim. The more cooldown reduction you can get, the more your W comes out, increases your health pool. You have such a good heal on that ability, and of course the Qs are just so crucial to being able to impact these team fights. So Randuin, fantastic item in its own right, but just not as good on Hecarim as that Frozen Heart is.
Okay, well, we'll see when he manages to pick that one up. Condi now just hanging out in his jungle, and M3, they look a little bit lost. They don't really quite know what move to make, but on the other side, Gamtee, they're not able to push the slight advantage that they have. Yeah,
Gamtee not able to push because they haven't extended their ward line up further than the river still. They're actually lacking on wards, so they can't really pick a fight that is favorable for them unless it's in a lane. M3, on the other hand, have done a very good job of, I guess, keeping their ward line at river and not giving up too much of their jungle. They're still trying to stay aggressive where possible, and that has meant that they've been able to get a lot of CS onto their solo laners and stay competitive in that fashion. They've fallen behind in kills. They're behind a dragon, but they're able to, I guess, use their team composition to continue to split push. No one can really deal with Hecarim at this point in the game and make life a little bit, I guess, they're trying to force Gamtee into bad decisions.
Yeah, let me. Going to pick up this huge wave here on the top side. M3 actually hanging around the Baron just a little bit. They know that they've got a lot of vision. Is Candy going to be able to clear out this ward? Takes a lot of damage from Baron at the same time as that Howling Gale is going to make him a little bit angry.
Dragon has actually respawned here. So they were trying to draw them away from the Dragon, and that meant that they took a lot of damage. They've taken even more now, and they need to be careful. Xiao, who's in range of killing a couple of their members.
Yeah, we've got a Sun Turret here in the mid lane, but Tail's going to make short work of that one. A little bit of extra money here for our Gamtee lineup.
So that's another free Dragon going to go across to the Gamtee lineup. There's no way that it can be contested now. They were able to poke enough members out, and unless they fly a Hecarim in there with something, just going to go away. And meanwhile, Xiao doesn't even feel he needs to rotate across to help out with it. Picks up all the farm in the mid lane. So very well played. He's got 3 items now with that Void Staff finished up and doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, he almost single-handedly poked out M3, of course, with a bit of help from Tail, who has a Bloodthirster now as well. It's looking very scary, especially if Gamtee gets some time to mess with M3 before a fight breaks out.
Yeah, so what they need to hope for now is maybe grab some home guards on Looper and look for the miracle flanks to start these team fights off. I definitely agree that if the team fight goes for any period of time at the start without a hard engage, it's in favor of Gamtee a lot. But Looper still can't be underestimated on this Hecarim. He's nearly level 16, and he will do a surprising amount of damage to a 3 aggressive item Xerath. There's no resistances coming through from Xerath. If he can get on the backline, should be able to disrupt it. He's also 80 CS above Maokai, so whilst can't really kill him, can continue to push him in, and there's not much Maokai can do in response.
Yeah, you can see Looper, he's had a free time, and we've spoken about this before. When Hecarims get a free lane and it gets to this 27-minute mark without too much of a gold difference, things can go very, very wrong for the team on the other side of the Hecarim.
Yeah, it certainly can. We've seen Hecarim run over the top of teams time and time again, and it looks like he's setting himself to do up something similar. 1,200 gold does have enough for that Frozen Heart, I believe. Yep, so goes back and picks that one up. That's a lot of crucial CDR coming through there. Now really only a Spirit Visage away from the item build that he would like to max out as much CDR as possible and create this tanky frontliner that uses a cool resource system in his W on cooldown to be able to heal up as much as possible.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for Gamtee to get rid of him, of course. I mean, Xiao does have a lot of damage, Tail with a lot of burst here as well, but once this Hecarim gets to super tank mode, I mean, what does Gamtee do?
Yeah, and that's definitely the point that needs to be asked. And they've started up Baron to really try and force the issue. Pings have come out, and they really didn't take out much health, instead of engaging.
Yeah, Love City actually forced to use that flash to get out. That's going to mean the Cataclysm on top of him, but in the backside, Looper's here. There's the Onslaught of Shadows as Dade is looking to almost fall down to Tail. No, the rocket doesn't land as Candy now looking to do some work. Let me, just on his own in no man's land. There's the sapling, not going to be enough. as the heal came through and helped him out. Looper's eventually going to fall down. The trader top laners is going to come through, but you can see Tail, Xiaohu, both members very, very low. An even fight, but this is what we were talking about. As soon as Looper gets even more difficult to deal with than that, could be a bit more of a problem.
And that was completely hilarious out of Looper. He dove through, ignored the Corki, recognized he's not the main threat, and just used everything in his kit to get on top of Xiao, who wasn't able to solo him out on the back line because they collapsed 3 members onto him to deal with this Hecarim, and it still took the majority of that team fight to fall. You saw how much quicker that Maokai from Let Me went down, and that's really what they're looking to do, create all this disruption, get the pony to canter through the back line and round people up, muster them into a position where Dade and Candy can get all of their damage down.
Yeah, and look, if it keeps going that way, things are looking a little bit better here for M3. Of course, nothing really happening as far as, you know, objectives down or anything like that. There was a blue buff steal that went in favor of M3, but Gamtee, they're hanging around the Baron yet again. Yeah, they're going straight back to the same plan, but the problem is this time Looper has his teleport available and just has the ability as Condi hits that Baron. I guess Gamtee, they're recognizing the fact that they can delete someone if they lock him down. Ooh, Dade getting a lot of poke through here as well, but he's going to eat some Rite of the Arcanes. Oh, the Dark Passage going to help him out. Yeah, so he needs to get back and heal, but that's a good cooldown out of Xiaohu now. And they still have Looper in a position to flank. So if they press too hard here, Gamtee, the turret isn't that far away from the base. Dade should be able to make it back, and Looper, you can see clearing out wards. He's looking for the flank. Yeah, he is hanging out there, of course, has that Onslaught of Shadows available. He's going to sort of hop away from this one, of course. 5 members. He did discover he can't actually last it. But he discouraged them away from the mid lane turret. So even though all of those cooldowns were burnt to send Dade back, it didn't mean anything out of Gamtee. They weren't able to force a fight because of the threat of Looper looming in the backline. Nearly level 16, so we'll have the rank 3 of the ultimate. And he's pinging out for assistance. He wants to go in. He's looking for something here on the backline. Love City and Condi. Oh, he's on top of Zhao, who's not able to do anything. Candy picks up that kill. Let me now. Right in that front line, exactly where he wants to be. And Tail, he's just turned and ran from this fight. Nothing going to go on, and that's a 2 for 0 for M3. And what a play out of Looper, controlling complete vision over the top side of the map. He's pushed the wave into where someone has to deal with it. Hook lands. Yeah, Huey going to fall down really low as well. Actually getting thrown out by that Emperor's Divide. Says thank you to Dade, but probably going to lose a Baron for it. Yeah, it looks like he's low enough that they're willing to start it up. If he dives in there, they'll be able to take care of him pretty quick smart. So Corki now with all the poke trying to get something done. Yeah, Huey actually taking a lot of damage from these Sand Soldiers over the edge. Doesn't get the steal, nor does he have the flash, and Condi gets the Baron and a jungler. Yeah, and meanwhile, that huge top wave has crashed into that turret. It's doing as much damage as it possibly can. It's not going to fall, but that's a lot of resources denied away. So great play out of the whole M3 lineup to capitalize on some good wave control. And the one-person threat, really the only threat that was looming in that fight was the Hecarim, and now that they utilize that, got the rest of his team ahead, now a 3,000 gold advantage. Yep, Void Rush going to be used from Condi so he can defend this Dragon, which has just been started up from Gamtee. Tail with a lot of damage onto that neutral objective. He does have his whole team backing him up, but M3, they're closing in here as well. Onslaught of Shadows almost off cooldown. And it's going to be up right now, so M3 going to be able to take a Baron and a Dragon now as well. That's 2 for 2 on the Dragons and 1 for nothing on the Baron. Yeah, and Teleport still available. Not available for Let Me, so Looper straight into that, back to that bottom lane. Nearly does have the Spirit Visage finished up. Unfortunately, wasn't able to pick up any kills for himself. But that's a death cap and another needlessly large rod finish for Dade. And Candy, with an extra BF sword, as well as that Blast Whisper, is doing some work on Lucian. Yeah, he's smashing through, especially these turrets, and that's one thing that we'd always talk about when Lucian was being played a lot, is that Light Slinger passive, it melts structures. Yeah, it certainly does. They take another outer as well for their trouble. That is 4 objectives in a row falling over to Master3. They've built themselves up a 5,000 gold lead now, and it doesn't look like they're letting up at all. Looper galloping towards that top lane. Yeah, and you can see this is the same thing happening in reverse. I mean, Gamtee, They have this early game comp. They do it well. They manage to get themselves a lead, but M3 somehow managed to turn it around and just have this fantastic sort of 30-minute mark where everything goes right.
Yeah, exactly. And now they're trying to play around what their strengths are. Continual split pushing, trying to go for picks with Dade because of all the damage he does. Using Candy to push out waves. And ooh, they're pinging down onto Xiaohu. Can they get in? He's cheating towards the side of his map that his team is on. Now he leaves. Very good heads-up play. Instincts coming through there for the mid laner.
Yeah, blue buff is going to fall down, though. Xiaohu would have definitely loved that one, but unable to. And is it going to mean a whole lot when Xiaohu finally does manage to pick up this Zhonya's Hourglass?
Yeah, so he's being forced into the Zhonya's Hourglass because Lupa is just so much of a threat getting on top of him. It will be a very good pickup, but sending him into stasis is a very big win as well because they can set up sand soldiers around him and then pop him as soon as he comes out of that. I really think that Lupa is the answer on this Hecarim to this backline that needs to set up. Xera's kind of like that big artillery tank that we're used to seeing where he needs to get himself in a position where he can overlook the battlefield and pick off targets, but Lupa's just not affording him that luxury.
And Candy as well with 4 damage items in comparison to 2.5. This Lucian really getting huge, and we haven't really spoken too much about it because, of course, it's been the likes of Lupa that has been really drawing our attention. But 3-0-4 now on this Lucian. He was harassing relentlessly in lane, and he's got a huge CS advantage. 60 CS here now for Lucian.
Yeah, he's really been the beneficiary of the pressure around the map as we see a fight starting.
Yeah, Candy actually losing a lot of his health here. Right at the Arcane, looking for it as Xiaohu, as in the backside, Lupa discovers the carries. Monsoon doing fantastic work, but Dade jumps in as well. He's just going to get blown up, though. Gamtee looking much better in this fight as Lupa going to get smashed back. Tail picks up that kill onto him. Condi and Love City, the only ones alive as the Dark Passage gets taken, and Condi's going to be okay. The Baron, of course, not available here, but Gamtee looking to try something in order to get themselves further ahead in this game.
Yeah, so they're able to pick up the winning team fight. They get the clean ace in the end for nothing, and really, that was Candy falling extremely early. All of that damage that we were just mentioning not being available, that will mean that a Baron will most likely, it's not up, so I'm not going to go to anyone.
Not yet, but maybe a Baron in the future could go to Gamtee. They have a hope because, of course, it's a neutral objective.
So they're able to pick up a turret for their trouble as well after winning that fight. They push the waves out very far, so a lot of the map pressure that had been building, as we see the replay of that. So Huey flies in with a very good Cataclysm, and Lupa thinks that he has the positioning to get a good flank. What he didn't take into account was that Maokai had actually set up a teleport in the backline and taken out Candy. So now it's Lupa and Dade on the backline with no assistance from their main carry, and from there they just have to run away. The persistent chase that came out was just too strong. Of course, whenever you have a Chana on your team, she's just going to lend so much for it, and you see the smile coming through. That was a pretty good team fight.
Yeah, not bad at all. Oh my goodness. Let me, though, going to be clearing out these minions in the bottom side, and Lupa continuing to split push.
Yeah, still hasn't really used that teleport, whereas Let Me, he's had a couple of fairly decent ones this game now. As we see, he's now at the point where he's got 3 good tank items. Going to be difficult to deal with. Lupa going for a Banshee's Veil after that Spirit Visage, respecting the magic damage that's coming out of Xiaohu, as well as all the mixed damage. And we see he's just so hard to catch at this point in the game.
Yeah, you're not going to catch him. That devastating charge giving him so much movement speed. Able just to run people over. And he's back to this top side, of course. Not too worried about anything, and as soon as that comes off cooldown again, just all the aggression he could want.
Yeah, exactly right. He can just rinse and repeat that tactic, and we see a lot of M3's members actually rotating into the bottom side of the map. Only 45 seconds before Baron. They need to get control over that area because that will probably be the next focus. Of course, they have very good neutral minion controls with the Azir as well as Lucian, being able to chunk those out, but in this situation, if you don't set up deep enough wards, Xiaohu can just poke off your whole team from that Baron.
Yeah, Lupa actually getting caught out here just a little bit. He gets slowed down as well. Shocking Orb not going to find him as he has to use his ultimate in a very defensive fashion. That's a big ult on cooldown and half the health off the Hecarim.
Yeah, it certainly is a big ult, but it doesn't really have that much of a cooldown. He's got the 30% CDR. It's about maybe a minute if they're lucky coming through there for that ultimate. As you can see, it's already a quarter. Be back up in absolute no time.
Yep, 1 second on that Baron, but The bottom inhibitor turret's getting pinged out here from M3. They want to make the aggressive move. It's like a game of chess now on the Rift at this stage, as you can see the massive minion waves piled up. And M3, in the end, is going to be able to pick up an easy dragon.
Yeah, and Let Me still has no teleport, so they can rotate this one maybe even into a Baron, depending on how quickly they do it. Let Me leaves the wave where it is, doesn't choose to shove any further. And Dade setting up that Sun turret just means that mid lane won't push either. They'll have all the vision from the creep waves, know exactly where Gamtee is, but Gamtee secured vision of their own jungle at least.
Yeah, the ward is going to go over the edge here as well. Of course, cleared out immediately as that pink ward was in position. Xiaohu going to continue to clear out waves here in the mid lane. Only has a 20 CS advantage. Dade doing a fantastic job keeping up on that front. Of course, nothing in comparison to this AD carry. Candy streaks ahead of everyone else on the map. 380 CS here at 40 minutes in the game.
Yeah, position to position. Looper also doing a very good job. 360 to 240. That's a huge discrepancy coming through there, and you can see it in the item. He's a full item clear of his opponents. Now picking up that Banshee's Veil. Still hasn't got the home guard boot, so won't be able to get in with those big teleport plays that we're used to seeing out of Hecarim players. But he's going to be a very disruptive tank on the backline now. Not going to be able to be dealt with by Xiao, who will need Tails' assistance.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, I mean, Looper seems to never want to use his teleport. Always wants to have it there to threaten. Doesn't really bother actually using it when the fight comes around. But of course, he's just generally pretty fast and seems to be great at getting himself into the right position to flank exactly when he needs to.
And you can see once again, he's going for it one more time. They've left the Janna back this time to try and keep eyes on him, but he's got a very good flank. We'll be able to chase them into their jungle, and the fight started.
Yeah, the fight started, of course. Gamtee starting that one up very early. Tails going to be able to take down the turret here as Looper finally makes his way into the backside. There's the ultimate to come through from Xiao, who is not quite dead yet, as the peel to come down from Gamtee. Condi doing some work trying to lock down this Xerath. Has still got that Zhonya's Hourglass available. Tails going to take down Looper though, and Maokai is so tanky in this fight. Eventually, it's still just going to be a 1-for-2, but Gamtee, they come out the losers on this one.
What an absolute ridiculous fight. Looper diving into the back lane immediately. Tail trying to turn around and deal with him, but not being able to get it done. Meanwhile, Dade survived everything being thrown at him, including a very persistent Maokai.
Yep.
And it put them in a position where it was a 2-for-1.
Yeah, the rest of the members of Gamtee now looking to try and get towards this Baron. Both top laners with the teleports available. The ward to come over the wall here as well as Dade makes short work of clearing that one out. But Condi, so low, they can't stay in and help.
Yeah, there's no way they want to have anything to do with Xiaohu with that little health. They've also got a big minion wave in the top and bottom that they need to go deal with, so you can't really blame them from pulling away from that. Haven't really secured vision around the objective the way they need to deal with the poke out of Xiaohu.
Is this going to give Gamtee an opportunity to potentially go for a Baron themselves?
Yeah, they've not got the same amount of Baron damage coming out, but they can definitely give it a shot. Teleport coming in, they've thrown everything at it.
Yeah, Letme's going to come through here as well. Void Rush going to get Condi to closer to this one, but of course Baron down very, very low. Xiaohu, of course, very safe in this fight. Descent's not going to find it. It's down so low. Tail picks it up. Looper's into the backside here as well as the Vengeful Maelstrom really helping out the team. The Cataclysm onto Dade. Xiaohu right over the side, but he gets knocked out of his ultimate by the Onslaught of Shadows. Huey now trying to help the Xerath, who's completely out of mana. Tail coming through as well. There's the Zhonya's Hourglasses. M3 are trying to clean up this fight. The double kill for Dade. He is massive in this one as Love City picks up a kill. And M3, they lose the Baron but pick up an easy team fight.
Yeah, what an amazing fight coming out for M3 there. Looper's so strong, confident he can take this one up. Now swapping it over to Condi. They lose the bottom lane turret just because of that massive minion wave. But in the end, they're going to be able to crush through this, pick up the first inhibitor of the game off the very well fun team fight.
Yeah, that was beautiful play. And we saw the fact that Looper, he's just so difficult to deal with now that he has so many defensive items. There was almost nothing Xiaohu could do. He was like trying to swat this stupid horse, smacking him in the back, and M3 aren't stopping here as well. They've got a Baron available on the side of Gamtee, but not anymore as the Nexus falls down. What a massive push to come through from M3. Beautiful play, and a 1-1 yet again here in the LPL.
Yeah, they stuck with the last push, able to get in there, just very tanky members, and I think that if these two games that Gamtee have played show anything, it's that they play extremely well against no-tank lineups, and teams need to seriously think about taking a super tank into the top lane.
Yeah.
We saw how much work Lupa was able to do. He finished with a very ungraceful scoreline in there. However, the amount of disruption, the ability to get onto the Xerath in the backline and really facilitate Candy and Lupa, Candy and Dade doing so much damage just meant that he put in his team in a better position.
Yeah, it was beautiful play, and I mean, you can't help but mention Dade here as well, who did fantastically there in that last fight, but sort of his Azir was good, but it didn't do all that much. He was just sort of a solid rock for his team this time, not quite that star player. And Candy, 3-1 and 4. I mean, he got sort of a little bit eliminated in the last one, but we'll see how he goes.
Yeah, he certainly did better in this second game, but overall a much better game 2 coming out of M3.
Yeah, really, really looking strong. But ladies and gentlemen, we've still got 2 more matches for you tonight here on our final day of the LPL. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back very soon.